The Creative Assembly has revealed its first look at the new Total War Warhammer III campaign map. The flyover begins in the far west with Reichland, Ostermark, and the Empire before swooping into the new lands of frozen Kislev. Kislev is a fractured kingdom in Warhammer III and begins besieged by chaos both inside and out. One faction is led by Tsarina Katerin, the Ice Queen, daughter of the late Tsar Boris, who rules from the peaks of the Boka Palace in the city of Kislev. But her rule from the Ice Court does not go unchallenged, and to the north, a new internal threat rises. Constantine, leader of the Great Orthodoxy, has a different plan for the future of Kislev, one that would return it to the embrace of their local gods and make it a religious state with him at the head. The Supreme Patriarch rules from Castle Alexandrov and has the support of many local boyar lords who hope to see their own fortunes rise alongside him. With it, we get our first look at the new Kislevite cities, as well as the outlying farms and watchtowers that help to decorate their world. But now let's leave Kislev behind and head further north away from the northern and eastern oblast to the cursed city of Prague. Called the Bastion of the North, it's a title that it's earned through blood, corruption, and endless sieges. A tainted and dying city that stands at the vanguard against the endless forces of chaos. But the Kislevites aren't the only inhabitants of this war-torn land. In the east, far from the icy plains, stands the Mountains of Morn and the home of the Ogres. At its center stands the Firemouth, the largest and most powerful volcano in the Mountains of Morn. A volcano that's been deified by the Ogres and turned into a living, boiling god. At its base, you'll see a member of the Firebelly cult, ogres who have drank from the blood of their god and now possess its fiery abilities. It's in this treacherous, barren land with narrow mountain passes that the ogres make their home, a terrain that separates the old world we know from the land of distant Cathay. Along the winding ivory road that traders use to connect the two kingdoms, you'll find the Great Hall of Greasus Goldtooth, over-tyrant of the Ogre kingdoms. So rich that he can't count his wealth, and so fat that he couldn't bend over to do it anyway. All of it gained from raiding caravans that pass through the mountains or acting as mercenaries for any army with enough coin. Further east still, where the mountains begin to spill into the plains of Cathay, is the narrow Worm Pass, home to Scrag the Slaughterer and his insane army of Ogre Gorgers, who are traveling west to pay their respects to the Great Maw, the first, foremost, and hungriest god of the Ogre pantheon. Scrag pulls a cauldron of bloody trophies behind him that he hopes to make as an offering to receive its boundless power. Even further down the Gunpowder Road and across the Warpstone Desert lies the isolated lands of Grand Cathay, ruled over and protected by a dragon god emperor and his moon deity wife. It's the offspring of this draconic power couple that are tasked with the day-to-day care of the realm, and their son, Zhao Ming, guards the western border and the ludicrous wealth that it brings along the Ivory Road. Looking at the campaign map and the flyover, you can tell just how much of its design was inspired by the recent Total War III kingdoms, with artistically exaggerated land masses and huge differences in verticality. Unlike the dark and gritty aesthetic of Warhammer 1, this is positively bursting with color, and by embracing a more game-style campaign map, you see clearly marked paths with larger-than-life decorations that help to give an area flavor and style. like the huge walled settlement of Wujin, the celestial city and home of the Dragon Emperor. It's here that you'll find the Wujin Compass, a mystical artifact created by the Dragon Emperor to harness the winds of magic themselves. Its power can be channeled to reinforce your armies at the Great Bastion or bring even more wealth into the kingdom. But if the Great Bastion falls, no amount of money will save you. Slithering its way along the northern border of Grand Cathay, it is a very real and physical boundary between the realms of man and the realms of chaos. And because those corrupted and twisted lands don't appear in this trailer, we can assume there will be another campaign map flyover sometime to come in the near future that will reveal them. But for now, we'll have to sate ourselves with a flyover of Nangao, home of the Storm Dragon and guardian of the Great Bastion, Miao Ying, who is cold and aloof. But when you're tasked with guarding the walls and preventing the destruction of millions, I suppose you can have a personality a bit like a popsicle. And that is everything they've revealed on the map so far, so let's actually dive into a couple really key moments right there that I didn't get a chance to talk about as it went by so quickly. You can see just how much of the old world and the Empire has been brought onto this map, and not only that, there's a lot of new landmass features like bridges and rock outcroppings that make it feel entirely different and new. I always assumed that the Immortal Empire's combined map would just be the Warhammer 2 map with a bit extra added on, but from the look of this new and distinct art style, it may be a completely new build of the entire world. Everything we're seeing on the campaign map here for characters, by the way, are all either lords and heroes or agents, who are being moved around for cinematic purposes, but things like the lions here do appear on the old maps as the exotic fauna and help to make everything feel just more alive. But later on in Grand Cathay, we see a Guardian Sentinel moving across the map. Now that is not an agent, and it's definitely not a general. Considering everything else is available in game, it would be odd if this wasn't as well. What if when you added a local garrison or watch force, it then spawned one on the map that constantly patrolled the area? What if when you built a building, you then see a new animation also appear on the map? The technology is already there, as we used to see it in things like Empire Total War, where you can convert a settlement to a certain type of building, so it's certainly possible and would be very cool. The thing I'm most impressed by is just the readability of the map. Sometimes in previous games it was unclear what areas you could walk through and what you couldn't, but here the paths are very obvious on where they want you to go, and it makes it much more beginner friendly. But with so much moving lava and swirling magic and animated bits and bobs, it keeps the world from feeling stale or flat like some sort of bad mobile game. And this exaggerated verticality of mountains looks great when zoomed in and when zoomed all the way out. It was one of my nitpicks with Thrones of Britannia that though the map was very accurate to Great Britain, you didn't get a sense of the local climates and regional features the same way you would have gotten with an exaggerated art style. It'll be interesting to see just how many of these little NPC characters we can interact with, from the orc standing over top of that guy over there that's probably some sort of raiding party meant for caravans, to these various ogre hordes that I assume are the wandering base camps. Maybe we'll even see it where certain units that require exotic units are geo-locked. You can only recruit a Rhinox cavalry in a region where you have Rhinox, or maybe like a Total War Saga Troy, you have to have that resource before you can recruit them across your entire faction. It would go a long way to help slow down the late game doom stacks and force you to play with early and mid game units for longer. That's the cool thing about such a radically redesigned campaign map. It opens up gameplay possibilities that were not there for other games. And it'd be a shame for them to have brought in flying mountains, but not have redesigned the systems that then interact with the world that they inhabit. Because most of us will spend around 80% of our time on the campaign map, and that's why it's so exciting to finally see it revealed. And man, was it a reveal. I look forward to talking about the second part of it whenever it comes out, assuming there will be one, because we're still missing several of the races, and I look forward to sharing that with you when the time comes. So subscribe to be notified about future releases, or join our Patreon and help ensure that content like this comes for years to come. But as always, thanks for watching.